first off, I was talking to some friends last night. We had dinner with some friends last night. They were in town. And it was actually Kurt Schlichter and his wife. And we were discussing how I can't just go to a movie theater and sit and be held captive by the dark and in the seat unless it is a great movie. It has to be a fabulous movie. I have to be fully engaged, fully into it. Otherwise, I cannot sit still. I get so fidgety and it's just torture. This is one that I definitely am not going to go see. And most movies have been so not great and so overwhelmed with political correctness and all this other stuff. You guys remember, we've been talking about the Snow White thing for how long now, Kame?
Oh, man. Can't even tell you.
I don't even know how long this has been in production for. It first made headlines because Peter Dinklage made some little people angry because they accused him of acting as like the gatekeeper for all little people in film roles. In fact, Peter Dinklage got mad. Remember, he got mad over the whole, there were dwarves in Snow White. And he was like, you can't believe, it's 20 whatever. And you're casting, dwarves. That's this, but that's the story. That's literally how the story goes. And then Disney, because of apparently what he said, then they got very nervous and they decided we don't want to offend little people. So we're going to replace the dwarves with magical creatures. And then you had WWE star Dylan Postel. He got mad. And he wrote, quote, "Who died and made Peter Dinklage king of the dwarves? It pisses me off," end quote. He blasted him. He absolutely blasted him. And Disney was like, we don't want to reinforce stereotypes, all this. And it wasn't just Dylan Postel. Warwick Davis, who I don't think anybody's more famous as far as acting and being a little person than Warwick Davis, he hit out at the theater in London because they got rid of the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They were doing this Christmas performance of the Grimm fairy tale. They changed it. It was the De Montfort Hall production of the 19th century Grimm fairy tale, and it was known as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but it was changed to Snow White and her seven friends. Because they said dwarfism is not a word that people feel comfortable with. And Warwick Davis, he said that it's patronizing when people are offended on his behalf and that it angers him that he doesn't want others of his stature to lose out on jobs. He says, quote, "It loses something if you don't have Snow White's dwarfs. I've been in a lot of pantos and I don't think it's offensive at all." He says, "I'm sure there are those out there who don't like the term, but as a short actor, I want to be given the choice about whether I appear in panto or not, and I don't want someone making that decision for me," end quote. And I love it that he also added that it was a smoke screen. He thinks that to allow companies to drop expensive actors. And he says the excuse of people being uncomfortable is a poor one. He says, "I doubt they've questioned the audience about whether or not they think the word dwarf is offensive." Very interesting. So that Warwick Davis was mad. So now they've replaced, because everyone was wondering, okay, what's Disney going to do? Because they were going to replace them with these magical creatures, right? And they just look like a bunch of hippies who just walked out of the Whole Foods and were going to their cars. So Disney, in its bid to avoid reinforcing stereotypes, decided to completely eliminate acting roles for actors of such smaller statures and just do it all CGI. And it looks absolutely heinous. It looks insane. And so, yeah. That's what they've got. And there's a teaser trailer out, apparently. And they did CGI. And can I just say that CGI, it's weird. When they do people, it's weird. We're not there yet. We're not there with AI. We're not there with CGI yet to do people like that in a film. It's weird. And now everyone's saying that the dwarves look very unnatural and weird. And they call the appearances as Uncanny Valley and the stuff of nightmares. And apparently Disney also did a terrible CGI job. And everybody's blaming Dinklage. I mean, there's not, and they were saying that now the left is like, well, it's true. There's not really a lot of roles for people in Hollywood that are, little people or that are of short stature. That is true. Maybe if they could, just to fix the depiction. Here's the other thing that we were talking about. Now, granted, we're a generation that were raised on Lord of the Rings. and my kids were raised on Lord of the Rings. Cain. In the fantasy realm, dwarves are not like Lord of the Ring, like Gimli, etc. They are not a joke of a being. They're like noble beings.
They are. As a matter of fact, they're regaled a lot in some of these films.
And apparently, amongst the Zoomers, they hate elves. And they're all about dwarves. It's like a big thing with Deep Rock Galactic and all this stuff. I don't even understand.
And I wouldn't even be able
that.
to intelligently tell you the difference between the two.
An elf and a dwarf?
Yeah, I have no clue. I literally have no clue.
If you listen to the Zoomers, the elves are GHEY and total, losers. And they do magic, which is hated. And then the dwarves can just build literally anything and are hardcore and can kill you. Do I have that right, Zoomers? Do I have that correct? I think so. That's what.
Yeah, I'm as confused as I was 5 minutes ago.
I mean, the magical creatures thing doesn't work. It's way better if it's dwarves anyway, because when I hear dwarves, I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord of the Rings. That's what I think of. I think of like the dwarves of lore that are, they're hardcore, right?
Yes.
And they found this chick who came from a broken home, She's like out in the woods all like falling over, can't do anything. And, they bring her in and then she takes care of their house and they go out and they do work and then they come back. She makes their food. She's like the female presence in the home that they never had. And, and they go out and help her and they protect her too. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like, a win-win all around, but it's just weird that they decided that it's better for everybody. Let's just get rid of the actual human actors and we're just going to do weird CGI where she's the same physical human actress and then all of the other actors and their issues were just too problematic. So they just jettison them for fake beings.
Like you said, they're just trans dwarves.
Well, yeah, they're trans dwarves. They're not even real. I don't know. Disney decided, I think it's hysterical that the left is like, well, is this woke? Now, Juan is showing you what it looks like. That's like from one of their teasers. It looks bad. I think, isn't that more insulting? They gave them all of these exaggerated features. And I guess now they're saying, well, sorry, little people, you weren't enough. We're going to have to do this. And it also kind of suggests that they don't believe that little people can be good actors. And I would consider that, the presence of Warwick Davis and even Peter Dinklage, who started all of this, you absolute loon. He's a phenomenal actor. You do not factor in any physicality when you watch him act because he's very good at his craft. He's also a giant hole. And are you okay?
I'm all right.
I'm just upset at the fact that this will be like a point we look back on 30 years from now and realize that, you know what, we couldn't employ any live little person for any role anymore because of the potential offense. And so now we've ruined an entire whole generation of people from being able to earn money at a craft like acting. Because
how is this progression, though?
It's
how is it progressive? Because, and that's what Dinklage had said in his thing. He goes, you're progressive in one way. You cast a Latina as Snow White, but then you're still making that backwards story about dwarves living in a cave. Well, they didn't live in a cave, you absolute imbecile. They didn't live in a cave. They had an actual house, so that's your bigotry. The trailer's out there, and it shows all her 7 iconic companions. They're all portrayed with PC CGI. It's just not progressive. It's illiberal. I mean, you literally have a film that has roles specifically for a segment of the population that is incessantly overlooked by Hollywood. And now they're overlooked in the most offensive way possible because the people did not want to be faced with their own discomfort. And so they pretended to do something on behalf of the group that they're actually robbing. And saying, no, it's for your own good. And these people just want to work. I mean, it's so stupid. You know what? I mean, if people are like, well, it's not realistic. The animals talk in this stupid movie, in this story. Are you serious? There's a witch with an apple. She's killing a chick. I mean, it's like murder. This is so dumb. And it just gets dumber and dumber and dumber. And then there was this chick didn't even want to be in the movie anyway. Because remember, she was like, oh my gosh, I'm not having the prince kiss me, wake me up. Well, then stay dead, bitch. I don't care. Stay dead.